Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to have a little chat about the heroes of the chapter, because when it comes to Space Marine reinforcements that were made available over the weekend, there's been a little bit of a stir around these particular lads because they look awful familiar, as you can see right here. So, this is the Heroes of the Chapter box, and you might think to yourself, well, I've seen these lads somewhere before, and that's because you have seen these lads somewhere before. What you've got here is a couple of lieutenants and an ancient and one of the Intercessor squad from Dark Imperium. It's pretty familiar because we've seen them before. For quite a while, they were part of the starter set for a long time, and then they got reintroduced, so to speak, via Conquest. So you could actually get this exact sprue, which you can see right here. You could get this exact sprue in Conquest magazine for the grand total of like £9, I think it was. It was something like that. Not very expensive at all. And when you look at the contents of this particular box, when it comes to Dark Imperium, they represented actually not all that much in terms of outlay. For these models specifically, you weren't looking at a huge amount, like a huge proportion of the Dark Imperium box. They were pretty good value, which is why things seem a little bit off when they now cost the princely sum of £45, as we can see right there. Funnily enough, that's not gone down massively well in a lot of circles, and I can totally see where the complaints about the price of this are coming from, because, I mean, the actual Dark Imperium starter set was like only twice the price of just these models, just these 8 models in this box. And then when you look at the fact that you got it in Conquest as well, which as part of that magazine, it was so much cheaper, it's unreal. 45 quid is a bit of an ask. It seems really high, but the reason it seems really high is because this squad, like this box, is one of what I would class as a series of casualties of Games Workshop's multiple ecosystems, like multiple ways of pricing models depending on the audience they're being sold to. So these guys fall firmly in that weird middle ground grey area of stuff that is previously cheap that is now seemingly overly expensive, but actually when you look at it compared to other examples of Games Workshop's pricing, isn't too bad. Like, if this was something that was released by itself, if these models were released in this box without any previous history, 45 quid wouldn't be too bad. And I'm not just saying that as a kind of, like, I'm not doing like the shill thing of, oh, Games Workshop's actually very reasonable. No, a lot of it's really, really pricey. But in comparison to a lot of it, this box isn't that terrible. When you consider that an individual lieutenant, so let's just go through here. So, Primaris Lieutenant with Power Sword, £20. 20 quid. Now, you get a Lieutenant with Power Sword out of this box for 45 quid. Now, in those terms, just 2 of those models, that's a massive saving. That's loads. If you wanted to get an Ancient and 2 Lieutenants, then you'd be looking at £60 if you bought those individually. Although I don't think you can even get an Ancient individually, which is a bit daft. But, like, that 45 quid for those 3, and then you got 5 Intercessors as a bonus. I mean, compare that with buying 2 Lieutenants, and you're laughing. You've saved a chunk there. And if you look at a box of Assault Intercessors, that's £36.50. So the 5 Intercessors that you get in this box, like, I know, well, mind you, normal Intercessors would be the correct comparison, which is 35 quid, because the Assault ones, for some reason, are £1.50 more. Like, that still means that, you know, this, for 5 Intercessors, that's not too bad to get them as a bonus amongst your 3 characters, which individually would cost you about 20 quid. That's actually okay. It's not really, technically, a bad value box in and of itself. The issue, of course, is that it feels incredibly bad value, because this £45 didn't used to be £45. That £45 used to be £9, or it used to be encompassed in a box that cost like 90, 95? I forget which one Dark Imperium was. It was 95, wasn't it? Either way, it's just another casualty of this weird thing whereby multiple different models and multiple different sets and kits are sold under multiple different pricing systems. It's exactly the same as like the Necron Warriors, or in fact the contents of the Recruit, Command, and like Elite edition of the 40k starter sets. When you look at the Recruit edition, you get a squad of Necron Warriors, and you get a Royal Warden, and you get some Assault Intercessors, and you get, I think it's the Blade Guard Captain, or Lieutenant, one of the two, I think it's the Lieutenant. You get all of those in that box for £1.50 more than if you just buy a box of Necron Warriors. That's absurd. We know that's absurd. That's crazy. But that's because those Necron Warriors, despite the fact that it's the same kit in both, are part of two different pricing angles for Games Workshop. One is designed purely to get you into the game, the other is designed to fill out an existing force. Your veteran lads and lasses, the ones who have been playing for quite some time, who have built up a decent sized Necron force, if they're going to buy some more Necron Warriors to fill out, maybe just expand the force a little bit, they're not going to go for the Recruit Edition because they don't need a lot of that. I personally think you should, because you could even just sell off the stuff you don't need, and that would give some sort of saving. But when we covered that subject, when we talk about that pricing weirdness quite a while ago now, the number of people who left a comment on that video saying, yeah, but I would never buy the Recruit Edition because I don't care, I just want the Warriors, genuinely surprised me. Like, genuinely surprised me. I really thought that it would be a thing of, well, technically I don't need the extras, but if I can sell them on eBay. A good number of people said, yeah, but I can't be arsed with that. I can't be arsed with splitting the box and breaking it down and listing it and then posting it, and that's a load of hassle that I don't need. I don't need to go through that to get Necron Warriors because I can just spend $150 less and only get the Warriors. This is a similar thing. When it comes to the way these models were introduced, previously, it was in a starter set. It was in a starter set that was deliberately priced low in order to get people in, and that's what that is for. That is historically what they go for with the starter sets. So it makes sense that these models would be relatively cheap. Same thing with Conquest. Yeah, the Conquest, Mortal Realms, the magazines that have started doing, they are really, really good if you want to get into the hobby. They're also really good for like veteran players who want to get into new armies, or just like the collection side of things. But these, again, were clearly priced as this is for the people getting into this. Now they're not. Now they're priced towards the people who don't care about that, who aren't interested in that, who want a couple of lieutenants and an ancient, and, a couple of intercessors is nice to have alongside. It's essentially producing the sprue all over again, but targeted to a different set of people, with a price that reflects the standard pricing of the rest of their stuff. The problem with that, obviously, is that we aren't isolated. Those of us who have been in the hobby for any length of time still get the starter sets. We still get the magazines and stuff, because we know full well that there is stuff in there that you would pay a hell of a lot more for if you just got it out of the box. If you just got like the one box of Intercessors, then you know that you'd be paying way more than if you got them through Conquest. Same thing with the Mortal Realms magazines. They add up to a significant chunk saved if you were to buy both of the armies that come with them, like, separately as individual kits. And it's the same thing with this. Like, the starter sets are a great way to start a new army if you just want to start an army of Primaris, or if you want to start an army of Necrons. And as such, we know full well what the initial kind of price point of these were, which just makes it feel super overpriced. And it's weird because it technically is. It's technically pretty overpriced compared to what you used to be able to pay to get hold of these things. It's also technically very underpriced when you compare it to a lot of the rest of Games Workshop's catalogue, because it is one of those crossover instances where this has been available to every tier, from the people trying to get in, to the people who are just in it for the collection side of things, to the people who wanted to build up some reinforcements for their armies, all the way to the people who have established forces, have established armies, and maybe just want to just fill those out, or get hold of some sculpts that they didn't get hold of the first time round. But we have all of that data to compare, and that's where the price just feels so off. It's not actually a terrible price for what you get, but at the same time, it feels like a terrible price because we know how much we used to be able to pay for it. There's no real, answer to it, I guess, that I've got. I think it just depends entirely on how much it feels worth to you. Like, if you're looking at it and going, well, I like these and I want them, and that's all there is to it, then 45 quid, you could do a lot worse for 8 models, 3 of which are effectively, if they were sold separately, would be like 20 or maybe 17.50, depending. But if you've seen these already, if you've gotten through Conquest, that's not palatable. Like, that's just not palatable, because it's like a nearly 4-fold increase. I'm pretty sure it was £9. It's a weird one, and it's just yet another instance of the fact that if you, depending on where you look and depending on how you kind of approach the hobby, some of the pricing feels super inconsistent, and that's because it depends entirely on who Games Workshop are targeting with those particular models at the time. But I just wanted to talk about it because I find that side of things super interesting. The fact that it's very easy, if you're looking at one angle, to go, actually, everything's pretty reasonable. If you look at it from another angle, to go, no, that's way overpriced, and everything just seems to hover in and out of that, depending on what Games Workshop use to get people started. So yeah, that's just rambling as always. It is Monday, after all. Yeah, I'll be interested to know what you think, because I do genuinely feel like if it was released by itself without that history, it wouldn't raise any eyebrows. But it has that history behind it, and so it has raised a lot of eyebrows, and I will say, again, very, very understandably so. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Bad price, good price, somewhere in between, exactly what you'd expect for the contents of it. Would you expect lower because we've seen the contents of this before in other contexts? Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click it if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description which you can use to support the channel. It really does keep the channel going. Thank you very much if you do that. I'll see you for the next one.